This conference will now be recorded.
All right, well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm going to introduce Beth and then I will turn it over to her for her presentation. Anyone who has worked with Beth in any capacity knows she's all about showing enthusiasm for whatever task is at hand, getting things done, and honoring what's been accomplished. As a small business owner, copywriter, and social media consultant, Beth loves helping businesses bring clarification to their marketing efforts to avoid wasting time and money. As an owner of Vivid Image, a digital marketing and web design company in Hutchinson, Beth and her husband Steve has been helping small and medium-sized businesses and nonprofits get results from their marketing for nearly 25 years. And today Beth is going to talk about marketing do's and don'ts in uncertain times. I'll turn it over to you, Beth.
All right. Well, hello. Yeah, so I'm really going to go over the state of marketing right now and talk about last 3 months or so, and specifically about COVID and the things that are going on right now. So I'm going to shut off my camera here, and we're going to get started. So by the end of this class, you're going to know 2 services you can offer, or at least explore, that are okay. I'm hearing a lot of feedback, so I'll keep going here and see if it goes okay. Otherwise, I'm going to make up. How to deal with the elephant in the room. One common best marketing practice to avoid right now. A couple of things you should check as soon as possible that impact customer experience, and how much customer contact is enough or not enough in this current situation. So right now, something to keep in mind that is nothing is more important than providing your customers with a great experience. My goal today is to really kind of look up and down your organization, find gaps that you might be missing in your customer experience, give you some tips on how to ensure your marketing enhances the customer experience rather than harm kind of your brand and your reputation. As we all know, the next few weeks in Minnesota, we're going to embark on a journey together, starting with picking up pieces from split-second decisions. We've had to make, new policies and processes that we've implemented really quickly, schedules that have been anything but 9 to 5, ongoing to-do lists that never seem to end. Rapid change has made us all adjust and wade through really long lists, fighting for our attention every day. And if it's one thing I continue to hear, and our team at Vivid Image continues to hear from all types of businesses, is that it's overwhelming to know what to do next and what marketing efforts will have the best impact, on business or nonprofit. So today we're going to focus kind of on the current state and what to do. We're going to cover a wide range of topics, maybe a few things you haven't considered. My goal is to help you use your assets and the opportunities you already have better, and to kind of recognize where you might have some opportunity to keep going. And I will give time. I hope to end with enough time to turn my camera back on and answer some questions and field some concerns from you. So we're going to jump right in. COVID, I consider COVID and the current situation really starting mid-March, at least for us. In Hutchinson, our kids were on spring break. I knew during mid-break, kind of watching what was going on, that they weren't going to go back. I had this gut feeling it wasn't going to happen. And it turned out that things just kept going, and here we are. So almost immediately, social media engagement rates spiked. And I would suspect these stats are even higher. They are not going down. So we saw a 50% increase on Facebook Messenger. We saw a 70% increase on Messenger group video calls. This is specific to Facebook. We won't even go with Zoom because obviously we pretty much even crashed them with the crush of people flocking there. And then we also saw a 50% increase in traffic to other sites from Facebook. So those are going to be your links in posts, ads, things like that. So we knew people were going on social media without a doubt. This is, next slide here is, this is the fun one. This is not news media. This is not, you know, stats and figures. This is real time for our area. And when I say our area, our region, Southwest Minnesota, most of these areas of growth is actual conversations myself and our staff have had with various industries. And we know that it's always fun and it's positive and it keeps us all going to know that there is growth and things are emerging. So right now, boats, camper sales, rec vehicles, incredible amount of sales and business is ramping up. Repair services, especially in the area of fixing boats, camper fridges, awnings, that kind of thing. They're booking out months. We're seeing bike sales and other types of recreational supplies, very hard to get, going out the door immediately. Furniture, I didn't anticipate this one, but heard it right from owners' mouths. They are seeing incredible amounts of quadruple sales, and I will say most of that has been online because they were obviously closed, and in-person sales weren't necessarily there in that March, April time, but definitely very strong. We all know that our meat markets are very difficult to get into, and they're hiring. Landscaping and even lawn ornaments. I heard a report locally of someone who had lawn ornaments and some of that kind of stuff that has sat there for years, and it's going out the door, and they can't even keep that stocked. Garden supplies, nurseries, potted plants, soil. Soil is just in demand. Real estate is still fairly strong. Manufactured pre-modular homes, they're having very, very good interest from people. Dog breeders and shelters, there's our nonprofit. Not making any judgment, but there's just tons of people who have decided to add a pet to their home, and when that happens, you know, there's vets and groomers and supplies and all that go with it. Liquor store sales are strong. Gotta recognize it. Educational curriculum, we work with a few various textbook publishers and writers, and those are very strong. Large toys, pools, trampolines, those kinds of things selling, and boat docks and lifts, very hard to find. So I just mentioned this because I like to give out positives. I like to, and this is by no means an all-inclusive list. But it is fun to see some interesting ways that people are embracing the situation, to hear conversations from businesses on new ways of doing things, you know, from outdoor seating, new delivery services, to online ordering, virtual classes. I think being pushed outside the comfort zone for some will be a very good thing when we look back on this. I should mention that from a process side of things, like a business process, we've seen some companies and nonprofits advance a decade in communication and or technology within weeks. So if you take just a moment to think about what that means for growth later, it's just astronomical. So let's take a look at online buying. You know, this happened really quickly and it's going very strong. And while obviously people shopped online already, they were forced to reevaluate their current needs, and two buying trends really have soared. I should mention that we really felt subscription was in our 2020 predictions. We didn't obviously know that COVID was coming, but that was something as a marketing team. We really thought businesses, nonprofits, member organizations, everybody was going to try and figure out some way to do a subscription, but it's just been amped up with this. And so, you know, everybody is being evaluating what they need. There's no indication that this is slowing down, even from some of the online furniture sales and things like that. We really feel like the online buying is going to continue. There's still a lot of people that aren't necessarily comfortable with full kind of interaction again as normal, but they still want to move forward with life and buying and their behaviors there. So my advice is if you can figure out a way to incorporate them into your business or organization, you're going to have a broader appeal. So subscriptions can look a number of ways. It could be called a subscription, it could be membership, it could be reoccurring deliveries, online enrollment fees, monthly charges. There's a whole way of subscription is just something kind of we gave it a label, but it's really that reoccurring revenue. And we're seeing some businesses that don't typically do that figure out some really interesting ways to do it. And the other one is conveniences. And anything that can come to the house via delivery or a digital inbox fits this need. And life is hard for some, considerably more complex for most people right now. So figuring out a way that your organization can make life easier for others and offer a product or service with more convenience is really the way to go. So let's look at just a few examples and kind of our behavior from a customer and business perspective, how we usually transacted. So before COVID, we think very granularly, it's a hard word to say. So if you think about it, we go out for supper and we buy a pizza and we spend money locally and we go home. That's granular, right? We go to the grocery store, we pick up, the buns that we need and, sour cream, and we go home. Very granularly. And then when something like this happens, and Americans especially have just never been ordered to stay home, it's not a behavior we're used to. Businesses didn't have the processes in place, and people didn't have the behaviors and the norms in place. So what everybody quickly shifted to do was the curbside pickup, kind of help with the whole distancing, the curbside, the delivery. But remember, that's still a singular purchase, but it was what was most comfortable right away in March and April. Is how do we get businesses to be able to still get things to people? Okay, so we solve that. But from a marketing, sales, and business standpoint, we need to think beyond that. So now we think of convenience, and we started to see, and you maybe have some examples you've heard about, buying for a week is now a convenience. It gets beyond that singular purchase. So I saw some restaurants doing larger family style entrees from singular menu. They were doing things that could be frozen, purchase meals for the whole week, especially businesses and with our families with business owners or workers that were essential, that were just really busy. That became a convenience. You could go to your favorite place, you could support local, but now you're buying for a bigger chunk. But when we move into monthly subscription, that's a whole nother mindset. And I think that's where we're going to continue to see growth beyond the situation that we're in. And that's why it was a prediction for us. So monthly subscription, instead of going and getting your grass seed or your weed and feed once, can you be on a weekly, a monthly, an annual subscription with ACE, and they can deliver it, or they can do the curbside, something where you're going to have that reoccurring revenue. And so I have a few pictures up here of just some of the really early innovation places that we're embracing the situation. One is the wine spritzers, where they came up with the zero judgment venting hotline for moms. Very clever idea. You could just call that number with SCREAM as the acronym, and they said it didn't matter what it was. You could call it. Great marketing idea. And I would not have known what pantry loading was. That I don't even think that was a word before COVID, but it certainly is now. Maybe it'll make the 2020 dictionary. But pantry loading really all the research I did really came from Pepsi company that owns these other companies. And they realized right away that people weren't going to be out doing those single shopping. They weren't going to run into convenience stores and gas stations and grab things safely. So they came up with this concept of pantry loading and figuring out all your snacks, and they come in a giant shipment, and you load your pantry and you're set to go. So really a great idea, and something that you can draw inspiration from. And the last one I put in here because we had a lot of this is actually a museum, the Slime Museum out, I think in New York. But there's a lot of nonprofits, museums, places like that just need the people there. But they were really on the ball right away and started pushing their 3-month, 6-month, 9-month subscriptions where you could have slime delivered and have your own experience, museum experience at home. And so great idea, great way to keep that some revenue coming in. I would not want my home as my personal slime museum, but love the ideas. So of all the topics we're going to cover today, the do's and don'ts, they all revolve around COVID. And it's okay to name and address what we call kind of that elephant in the room. Early on, I saw a lot of businesses not really wanting to talk about it or really address the significant impacts it was having. And I think people are becoming a little bit more comfortable with that. But while we're all sick of talking about it and hearing about it, it is necessary for businesses to address, both in their business processes and marketing and communication efforts. So it is what you need to keep in mind when we're reviewing all the items that we're going to go through. So the first one, really, I want to stress is that not to stay quiet. Don't assume people know what you want them to know or what they saw, or that they saw what you emailed them or sent them or posted on Facebook. Repetition is important now more than ever. No news is good news is really out the door. I have seen, I spend a significant part of my workday on social media. I watch what's being posted, I watch people engage, and it's incredible the amount of the businesses that are quiet. It's just not a good thing. So not providing regular updates can, and actually I see it, be construed as bad news, that you're out of business right now. Remember, people can't necessarily go in and check it out, so they make their own assumptions. It might, not communicating might mean that, or come across that your management team is overwhelmed or ill-equipped, that you're currently closed, or worse would be you're ignoring your customers. So even if you don't have much to update, keep the updates coming to be reassuring. If there's 2 elephants in the room, and I added this one because it's just something that I feel every business needs to consider. It's the fact that we all need to be prepared for someone with the knowledge suddenly ill or home with a family member. So does someone else have access to your key marketing accounts, your passwords, administrative access, notes on what's in the works? Have that cross-training component right now, because your marketing is what drives sales, and sales drive your business. And we just really need to make sure that that we're prepared, because this isn't over. It's going to go on, even with, that we're starting to craft our message of recovery, and that's good. And I recommend that you start shifting more into a recovery type messaging, but do be prepared. So again, like I said, I like to do positive stuff. So next is to really draw inspiration from others. And what I love most about this class is that each day I'm finding new examples of businesses, what they're trying, and stories to share of what I'm seeing people in our area and around the country doing to innovate. So the last week I've seen some really interesting ways of embracing the situation, and I'm from outdoor seating and new delivery services, online ordering, virtual classes. This one, so the D-Toys restaurant, that's in Madison. They kind of, I just threw up some ones here that I thought were kind of fun. I took some screenshots. So they're embracing the car hop, and it's a great idea. You know, kind of that's exactly what Carside Service is, and some of us who remember some of the A&Ws and some of that, and bringing that nostalgia back to comfort and reassure customers and give them a fun experience rather than a, oh, I don't get to go in and sit. Oh, I get to have a car hop night. Awesome. I realize Burger King isn't necessarily local, although we may have some locally owned. But what a great idea with the triple the onions social distancing Whopper, embracing the current situation and having some fun with it. FRF Productions, their video production small business locally here, and they work with RC Thomas in Olivia. And just yesterday, I grabbed this screenshot that Tony shared. They're doing some live stream, working on the technology to do some live stream events. And then up in the top, I loved that when I saw Mana Video Theater figuring out how to do and bring back a drive-in. It's just, the innovation is just very, very inspiring. So let's talk about content for a minute. You do want to take a look at your content. Take a look at things that you previously may have scheduled on social media. Facebook has a scheduling tool, or you may be using a third-party scheduling tool, just to make sure you don't have something scheduled that would not be good to automatically post. Some people schedule out quite a ways or have a marketing plan that may need to just plain be altered. You need to acknowledge the current situation rather than ignore it or gloss over it. Change up your imagery. You know, for a while, we're kind of past prom and graduation, but those were very touchy subjects for a lot of people, and you got to be really sensitive to that. Your group photos without distancing may say that you haven't bothered to choose a different image, and you just really need to be compassionate, and sensitive. I recommend putting more eyes on creating your content and proofing or picking images than you normally do. Some of us have really small businesses and we operate kind of, there may be only one of you, but do ask, reach out to someone else, even if it's a spouse or a friend or a teen, just to kind of say, hey, you know, anything with this, especially if you're kind of questioning it. Be authentic and genuine, but know that people are more critical right now. They just are. Emotions are high, and there will be more critique. It might feel like you just posted something, you had someone else take a look at it, you really feel it's okay, and you still get criticized. Or there's an odd comment where you normally don't get those negative comments. That is very normal, and so don't feel like you know, you're kind of the only one. There's a strong desire right now for people to support local business. So do let your content directly address that in interesting ways. Whatever you can do to kind of give that local vibe is a very, very good idea for your marketing. Always invite your customers or your social media followers to connect and give them ways to engage frequently about their questions and concerns, and they have a lot of them right now. And then, of course, keep in mind that your customers or members or whoever that your audience is are going through some things too. And so even though we do put a lot of thought into our marketing and our business and the things that we need to convey, those on the receiving end are going through a lot too. Next, you do share more candid and less polished photos, videos, stories, things like that. That's absolutely okay. You know, it's been a standard practice to perfect marketing materials before they go out the door, taking time and money and resources to make it, you know, look polished and professionals before customers see it. And we've all experienced that, you know, spending tons of time on, you know, a website graphic or a brochure or whatever in editing. But if you've noticed, this is something that even major brands are ignoring right now, that perfected, polished look. You're gonna see ads where even CEOs, presidents, owners are talking to the camera. There's home video footage being used in commercials, very personable, customer-centered stories, lots of street clothes. Therefore, you know, those candid images and the less polished photos, or you're shooting videos that aren't necessarily professionally edited, are fine right now. So go ahead and do that. With your marketing, you want to be transparent as much as possible, acknowledging that you don't have all your staff there right now, or that, you know, or if you're open, or that you're operating very differently. You don't have to give off this, we're fine, we haven't been affected, business as usual. People are looking and they're drawn toward authentic, kind of transparent things, and they're going to show those loyalties to you, and you need to do your part also in your marketing. So be authentic and genuine as you keep your customers updated. Offer things customers can do or learn. Remember, a lot of people are at home. They're still practicing a lot of safe distancing. They're entertaining kids they're going on month 4 of summer already, before summer even started. So kind of really rethink about your business, your organization, and what you can provide that really helps them out. Repurpose your content that you created, especially if it pertains to DIY, you know, that do-it-yourself, the maintenance, problem solving. You know, if you are a plumber and you created a how to shut the water off in your house video a while back, those are the types of things that you can repurpose and show right now when people are hesitant to bring someone in their home, or they're hesitant to go somewhere. So repurposing some of that content that might be really helpful is a great marketing idea. I'm also seeing a lot of old video footage kind of being resurrected and repurposed again, which is fine, do that. Another thing you want to do is to clarify your processes. We've all changed processes a little bit, and some people a lot, but don't assume your customers know or understand how to do business with you right now. So I see this a lot. It's just incredible. Even with all, it seems like all the news on, we'll pick on restaurants for a little bit, with the rules with them reopening, and with the outdoor seating and the 50-person capacity and requiring reservations. The two questions I see all the time from people's customers on social media is, well, how many can you seat, and do I need to call for reservations? So it just tells you, do not assume people understand the process and what they need to do. So again, if you can offer a virtual consultation, other teleservices, can you walk a customer through a problem via live video, or having them take photos or screenshots, being able, and if you do this, are you putting it in your marketing? Are you telling customers that, hey, you know, if you need help with this, here's how we're dealing with this. And then again, don't assume they saw that information the first time. So repetition is good. Telling stories is always a good idea, and you have plenty of them since this all started. I don't know if you've turned any of them into interesting customer stories or business stories, but find the positive side and tell it. And consider a heartfelt video to your customers. I've seen some businesses do that to build loyalty and community around them, especially when they haven't had as much contact as they would like right now. So a couple of things you should check as soon as possible that impact your customer experience is to audit your touch points. Audit what it's like for your best, most longest customers to do business with you right now. Do you have any idea what it's like for them who are used to doing things a certain way, to drive by, to call, interact online, stop by? You know, what is that experience like for them, and what little things can you do to improve that? And then think about it, what is it like for a prospect or a new customer who hasn't isn't familiar with you, and this is the first time, you know, during this whole COVID experience, this is their first experience with you, and they're coming in with that as an initial experience. So how can you really tune in, ask questions, and fine-tune things, and start building that relationship for a long-term connection. So other places to audit, have you checked your voicemail? You don't want it to say stop by if your doors are locked, things like that. Your website, email footer, any emails that you've got set up, or social media. So just kind of audit that and make sure that what's going out is the message that you want. 2020 tends to seem to be the year of signage. There's signage popping up everywhere. You just have to drive down a main street and you're kind of hit by a lot of signage. So make sure that people can find where you're telling them to go. There's been a lot of temporary signage, and there's been a lot of differences. So just an example I had really early on in March, I needed to drop some documents off at the bank, and he said, well, after you sign them, just throw them in the night deposit box. And I said, okay, and I hung up, and he didn't think to tell me where that was, and I haven't used one in 25 years. And so I had to think as a customer, like, well, where is that? And then when I got there, I was able to get into the entryway, but the night deposit box only fit a regular sized envelope. It didn't fit a document sized envelope, and I couldn't even use it. So what are those experiences like? Are you communicating where to go, how to do it? And it's just really, really important. Do update your directory listings and take advantage of the special COVID related area on Google. So let's talk about Google My Business for a little bit. If you don't have one set up, definitely very important to do. Even if you do or don't do local business, it's just a really important part of your online marketing. And when COVID hit, Google, to avoid crashing, kind of shut down a lot of things. And what they said was, we're not gonna, we'll allow reviews, but we're not gonna publish them right now because we just don't have the staff. We're gonna allow you to make updates, but they're probably not gonna show. What we are gonna do is provide a special COVID related area. We'll give a little priority there, and we'll give priority to certain industries. So if you're healthcare related, senior living, any other kind of essential type business, those updates we're getting first priority. As of this morning, reviews are posting in real time now, so that's great. The updates as far as your hours and things like that, still make them. They're very scattered. Some are posting right away and some are taking weeks. But it's very important that you at least make your attempt, and if it's COVID related, mark it as such. And then of course the other places that you may have listings, such as Yelp, or if you're, depending on your industry, if you're on TripAdvisor, but do those. Take advantage of the pinning feature. It's on social media. It's been around for a while, but it can be really helpful right now. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter all have this. Just don't forget to check back and update it. I suggest looking at it every week because information and processes, everything is changing so quickly, and we just don't want to have bad information posted for your customers and prospects. You can't pin on Instagram, but you can put critical information in your bio area, and you can put a link there, so just make sure that it counts. All right, so do stay in front of your customers. Even if you're closed, still update your social media and your website. Connect with your audience as candidly as possible. Show what you're doing, or what, if you're opening up again now, show what you've been doing, whether it's to clean or rearrange, update equipment, make adjustments, whatever, safety precautions. Those are things you should be putting in your marketing and in your communications with your customers. Also, highlight how you and your employees are helping others. Philanthropy is very important right now, and it should be part of your marketing. It's okay to give a look at how your team is spending more time at home. This does depend on your culture a little bit, and your staff, but if they're comfortable telling some of those stories, sharing what they're doing to learn or to grow during this time is definitely a great thing to communicate. And you can show what you're doing as an organization to support other local efforts. And those kinds of things are okay too in your marketing. If you have not put a COVID notice on your homepage of your website, I highly suggest doing that. It's not too late. There's a number of things you can do. Some people have been just updating their homepage content to address it. Some people use a pop-up or a scrolling bar, but you should have some type of COVID-related message for your customers as far as any changes in hours or how you're open, when you're open, how you're dealing with safety issues, things like that. And it's just really, really important to have that on there. You also may have certain liabilities and things you need to communicate, such as, you must stay outside. I know a lot of hair cutting places, you have to stay outside until, it's your appointment time, and you must wear a mask or things like that. And so having that message or that place to go is really helpful. And then, of course, keeping it updated. Without acknowledging COVID, if somebody comes to your website and there's nothing about it, nothing has changed, it kind of appears as if you haven't given the situation any thought or care, or you don't update your website, and that's not good. So other places to check if your updated messages could be to include your email footer, phone message, contact us page. You don't want contradictory information that will be confusing to people. And so with that, we're going to look at the rise of the FAQ page. Can you believe this is suddenly a very popular page on your website if you have one of these? But if you think about human behavior in the situation that we're in, it makes sense. People have just tons and tons of questions right now. And so they're flocking to FAQ pages. They're looking for them on websites. They're very popular, but most businesses don't think to update them. And typically, FAQ pages have a lot of what we call evergreen content, meaning you have certain questions that are frequently asked by your customers, and you have an answer for that. And typically, they don't change very often. That's kind of a set it and leave it and maybe look at it a couple times a year to make sure your FAQs are up to date. But right now, that's not true. And so with all this traffic to FAQ page, go ahead and cater to the extra traffic right now. Read through what you have that could be contradictory or confusing, update it or delete parts of your FAQ page that just don't apply right now. You can always add it back in later. You don't want your FAQ page to say, for example, you don't ship, when right now that's all you can do. If you don't have an FAQ page, make one. If you have a blog, you can make your FAQ page a blog post, whatever it is. But just think about all the things that are on your FAQ page that could be contradictory. And so again, when you're looking at the information on your website, not just your FAQ page, but your COVID page, if it has that you're open only noon to 3, but in your footer it says you're open 8 to 5, and on your contact us page and in your FAQ page, just going through it and being cognizant, because people have a lot of questions. And to be quite honest, a lot of people can be lazy with looking for information, and if it's not easy and they have to dig, they may not get their questions answered. And so we need to make it easy for them, and we need to make it really clear. And so it's interesting, the stress. One tip is to not let the trivial things take up a disproportionate amount of your time and cause you stress. Right now, I mean, we all have really big to-do lists. Marketing always tends to get a little bit of that push for helping with sales. And if business is really worried and needs the sales coming in, the marketing stress is going to be there. So just take a step back and know that this is, it is stressful, but not to let it get ahead of you. Your customers have stress too. People are short and they're critical, but they do want to buy, and they are buying it. We're seeing that in statistics. They want to be helped, but they don't want to be sold. So focus on nurturing the leads and being helpful. Don't expect immediate return on your investment or go for the hard sell, especially, you know, with people unemployed and having a ton of other things on their mind and dealing with. But take the time to educate and solve problems. Now is the time in your marketing to do that, and just really nurture that relationship along so that when it is time to buy, they know who they want to go with. Don't get into visible disagreements on social media. It's very easy to get defensive right now. I understand that, but do try to take it offline, take a breath, and just know, again, people have a lot of questions and they have a lot of critique right now, and they're not afraid to share it. So I'm going to start to wrap up here so that we have enough time to take a break for questions. I do want to let you know this class came up quick, and I know this is short notice for tomorrow, but we do have another free webinar that we're doing tomorrow, and that one is focused on doing local business marketing and attracting customers. So if that's something that's of interest to you, you can register at webinar.bim.com. We do typically do a lot of classes. Some are client only, and some are outward facing, and this is one that's open to the public. So I'm gonna try and turn everything back on here. Maybe. I know everybody has their mics off. I'm not sure if do they have the ability, Stephanie, to turn their mics back on and ask questions, or do I need to do that?
They should have the ability to turn their mics on.
Okay.
If they don't, why don't you guys put your questions in the chat and I can read them out loud.
Yeah, that would work too.
This is
I know
Jordan.
today we focused a lot of do's and don'ts with COVID, but I can speak to social media marketing in general.
This is Jordan with Renville County. Knowing that money's tight, time is tight, everybody's busy, what's the one best thing, if businesses can do one thing to try to promote themselves, what's the one thing, you know, the first place they should do to get the biggest return on investment? Thanks.
That's an excellent.
Sorry to stump you.
Yeah. I think I have two things. Do I have to pick one? So my first instinct is online listings. That is the most prominent place. People go to Google or they ask their Alexa or whatever questions, and you want to make sure that you come up, especially if you're a local business, local resource entity that somebody's searching for, is making sure that online listing is current and up to date. That it's just the astronomical amount of searching that's going on right now. And people are looking. They're not just not going to fix the overflowing toilet and things like that. So it is happening. If you're on social media, being consistent would be the other tip I would have. Not being quiet, but being consistent. Even if you're typically before this weren't on a ton, I would be very consistent. And I'm not saying figure out a bunch of fluff to post, but being very thoughtful and repetitious with how to get a hold of you, how to, you know, to buy, how to do something. Because again, I see people all the time posting things like, hey, we got a great online ordering now, so just go online and order and we'll get it to you. And they don't post the website link or their online app for ordering. So just thinking through those things very consistently and making sure that you spell it out very easy for people.
We have a question from Nicole. She's wondering if you'll be able to share your slides with us.
I will check on that for you. Yeah, if I can, I will give them to Stephanie and she can put them out there. Otherwise, I believe you recorded today, or was that out of visual?
No, we recorded, so it would be visual.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Well, thank you, Beth, for presenting. We appreciate it. And
Yeah, thanks for
we'll get
having
this.
me.
Yep, we'll get the recording onto our website on our Lunch and Learn page soon. And that's where our next month's information will be. We don't have our speaker yet, but we'll get it up there soon. Thanks for coming.
Great. Good luck to everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.